Namaskar and welcome to Indian Diplomacy, a show about India's role in the world, India's major partnerships, India's influence and growing stature on the world stage, and how India is able to build strong bilateral connections with countries that benefit not only the two sides, but the world as a whole. Viewers, in this episode, we are going to the powerhouse of Europe, Germany. Germany, as you know, is one of the world's major economies, the fourth largest in the world, the biggest economy in Europe, the leader of, de facto leader of the European Union, and a very important strategic partner of India. And to understand India-Germany strategic partnership, how it's evolved over time and where it is going, I'm very fortunate to introduce to you my guest in the studio, Ambassador Gurjit Singh. Ambassador Gurjit Singh was former Indian ambassador to Germany and has held many important senior positions in the Ministry of External Affairs in the course of a distinguished career. Thank you, Ambassador, for joining me on this show.
Thank you, Dr. Chaulia.
Ambassador Singh, when we talk about Germany, I mean, one cannot overstate its importance, right? I mean, it's just so pivotal. And the way we have built our ties with Germany over the years, it's actually a role model, and I'd like your opening comments on, the overall importance of Germany in the world, and especially for India.
So Germany, as you said, is the leading light of the European Union and the great votary of the European project. They are also very well disposed towards India as a democratic country with a high technology base. Germany is India's largest economic partner in Europe. It is our bilateral trade is growing, our mutual investments are growing. Not only does India invest in Germany, but Germany also invests in India. It's a pretty balanced relationship. So it is a very highly functional relationship which has survived the test of time. Today, when we have the India intergovernmental consultations coming up, it is a very opportune time because Germany is also the chairman of the G7 this year. So the postponement from last year actually has been good because now we deal with a Germany which is well settled under a new government, and the importance of Germany is there, but perhaps this is the time to reinvigorate the relationship.
Absolutely. And viewers, when we talk about Germany, we have a fairly large and growing diaspora there. There's also a lot of thick web of connections with regard to trade and investment and skill development. And it's really a developmental partnership, Ambassador Singh. The thing is, we talk about mutual benefit, but in this case, Germany and India, we gain a lot from each other. And you mentioned the fact that Indians also have invested heavily in the German economy and vice versa. And we would like to attract more investments. And Prime Minister Modi has always been talking about how Germany can be a central pillar for India's growth story. So in that sense, clearly, the German support is quite essential for India's modernization and our transformation and the big domestic goals for development that Prime Minister Modi has been promulgating.
Indeed, I think you're absolutely right. When in 2015 at the Hanover Fair, Prime Minister Modi and then Chancellor Merkel jointly announced the Made in India, logo. I think that was the time when this thought process in Germany turned, that India is now, post 1991, that 2015 is another, fulcrum. And I think now with Atmanirbhar Bharat, this is something we need to redo to bring back post-pandemic attention to investing in India. I think one of the consequences of the intergovernmental consultations, which were instituted in 2013, has been that we are looking at a detailed engagement, which is across the board, cross-cutting.
It's not just the foreign ministries.
Not at all. In multiple ministers who come with the Prime Minister and the Chancellor, and you have a solid engagement. And this leads to many diversified partnerships, and I think I can name the Indo-German education partnership, the environmental partnership, the energy partnership, the green partnership. There are so many. The digital partnership, the railways and infrastructure partnership, there are many. Now, you mentioned the diaspora. So Germany traditionally was not known as a country with a large Indian diaspora. Exactly. But yes, slowly it has been growing. Most importantly, the number of students from about 4,000 in 2015 is today about 25,000. So I think this makes a big difference.
And many of them doing advanced degrees
Indeed,
which can help in skill
postdoctoral
transfer
work,
back to India.
Technical work, high-level doctoral work. So I think these are very good, participants in our technological partnership with Germany.
Absolutely. Viewers, I've got a special message for all of you from none other than Parvathaneni Harish, India's ambassador to Germany. Let's hear him and then continue the discussion.
Germany is one of our closest partners globally. In the year 2000, we have established a strategic partnership with Germany. It's our most important partner in Europe and also one of our most important partners globally. It's important to us in terms of trade, investments, economic engagement, scientific and technological collaboration, research, and higher education. Let me remind viewers that it was in the late 1950s that the University of Aachen collaborated to establish the Indian Institute of Technology in Madras. Since then, we have had a thriving academic collaboration between our two countries. Today, we have over 30,000 Indian students in Germany pursuing master's and doctorate programs. And we look forward to further strengthening of these relations, and we look forward to more exchange semesters, more summer semesters, and joint and dual degree programs to be concluded between universities in India and in Germany. This year presents unique opportunities for bringing forth a green and a sustainable development partnership between our two countries. Both of our countries import a significant component of our hydrocarbon requirements. Both countries would like to have greater say and manage their energy resources in a manner that it is green and clean. With this in view, we find great interest in both countries to move towards a hydrogen partnership, a green hydrogen partnership, so that there is a greater component of renewables in the overall energy mix of our countries. It is with this in mind that we are discussing the setting up of a green hydrogen task force, which we hope will culminate soon into a German hydrogen hub in Delhi, which will facilitate greater collaboration between our business and industry and our research institutions. We also have a long history of fruitful development cooperation between our two countries. Germany has been a great development partner, a development partner of choice for us. We would also now try to look how we can synergize and use our particular strengths in bringing together our development cooperation teams to work in third countries in areas such as solar energy, wind energy, and other green partnership projects. An important part of our strategic partnership is, of course, our close people-to-people relations. We look forward to a smooth migration and mobility of professionals between our two countries. We already have a community that is over 200,000 strong, and it is growing as there is a great appreciation for the contribution made by Indian professionals in various industries. As the largest economy and an influential voice in the European Union, Germany is also a very important partner for us to specifically shape our partnership with the European Union on various issues. We have just had a very successful visit of the EU President, and we look forward to the beginning of negotiations on an EU-India FTA next month. I think Germany will have an influential voice in the EU, and there is great enthusiasm in looking forward to the successful conduct of the India-EU Free Trade Agreement negotiations.
So viewers, Ambassador Harish highlighting a number of areas of cooperation and new vistas in the India-Germany strategic partnership. Ambassador Singh, what caught my attention first was he was mentioning this idea of a hydrogen hub, a German hydrogen hub here to help with our transition to meet our Paris and Glasgow goals for climate change. And then the second thing he was talking about was Germany as a leader of the EU and facilitating India's opening of greater doors for beneficial partnership with the entire EU. So your thoughts on these two aspects, the Green Hub and the Germany as a kind of a vector for our overall approach to the big block of countries in the heart of Europe?
Thank you. So the Indo-German Green Partnership has been one of the success stories. So I don't think we felt threatened when the Greens came to power as part of the new coalition, because the Indo-German partnership is actually very green. So the hydrogen partnership is a new element in that green. The green has included green transmission lines, metros, the green battery operated ferries in Kochi, the Namami Gange. So in fact, if you look at Indo-German partnership, it is actually a very green partnership. So and it is incrementally growing. So the hydrogen partnership makes immense sense, because Ambassador Harish mentioned about the energy requirements of both countries. Now, in the current scenario, energy dependence and diversification both need attention. And the hydrogen initiative is therefore contributing to creating diversity of energy sources beyond, let us say, even solar and wind, and looking at a deeper scientific collaboration. The problem with hydrogen is, so far it is not commercially viable, and that is where this transition truly needs to happen.
And the EU leadership of Germany, and how we have been able to harness German leadership to get our way across to the EU as a whole.
I think what Ambassador Harish mentioned was particularly the leadership on trade and investment. Now, I'm very happy that the visit of the EU Commission President has led to a finalization that the talks will begin in June. Now, with that settled, I think Germany's role is now only to make sure all that goes smoothly, because it is India's largest economic partner.
Right.
But I believe that having settled that, we could now start looking at a direct Delhi-Berlin line, which doesn't go via Brussels. On trade and investment, for many years, we were stymied by what happens in Brussels. But with the Brussels track getting a green signal, I think now we should look at more things to do directly with them. And I think he mentioned this sustainability partnership. Now, with the amount of work that we have done on green and sustainable issues, and I mentioned several of them, all these are good examples of what Germany and India have achieved in India. Now I think the time for India and Germany as responsible members of the international community, and to live up to our green goals, to take these ideas to the wider world, particularly the global south. So I think this trilateral cooperation, let us say with Africa,
India, Germany and Africa.
Germany and African country, to promote the SDGs. Doing good for the world together is something that will come out of this partnership. Now, what we have done in India with Germany, I think is now scalable and replicable. That is the thing. We have been a good crucible where many things have been done. Also, in Africa, for instance, Germany's spread is to a few countries through the Compact for Africa. But India has a huge accessibility and acceptability. So if India and Germany work together in Africa, for instance, it is a huge gain for both us and particularly for the African continent, which is reeling under the pandemic and post-pandemic economic problems.
So viewers, what Ambassador Singh is talking about, we call it North-South-South. As in South-South is between developing countries, but there's also a rich country and advanced industrialized manufacturing powerhouse like Germany, and then India, and jointly teaming up to do works in third countries that benefit the recipient countries, but also enhance our soft power and our influence in developing world. So that's certainly something very important. But it's not all about trade and economics and investment. There's also an effort to create greater strategic content to our strategic relationship. And on this matter, I'd like us to hear one of the leading Indian scholars in Germany, Professor Amrita Narlikar. She heads the German Institute for Global and Area Studies. Let's hear her and then resume the discussion.
India and Germany enjoy a strategic partnership. But this is a relationship which, despite much goodwill on both sides, still leaves something to be desired. In German, one says, "Es gibt Luft nach oben." There is room for improvement. Why does the Indo-German partnership fall somewhat short of expectations? There are several explanations. An important one is that much diplomacy between these two friends has focused on economic issues. Economic cooperation, development cooperation are, of course, very important. But rather quickly, these tend to deteriorate into an unsatisfactory conversation about the free trade agreement between the European Union and India. Perhaps we will finally now see some movement in this direction, not least in light of the visit of President Ursula von der Leyen. But to really make the most of the Indo-German partnership, we need to expand our focus, narrowly defined trade issues, to two bigger issues, geoeconomics and values. As the dangers posed by both Russia and China show, India and Germany need to be building secure supply chains, especially in strategically important areas, including 5G technology, medical supplies, infrastructure. And Germany should be offering more security cooperation and cooperation on dual-use technology to India. This is a good moment to both widen and deepen Indo-German cooperation on the green transition, on the digital transformation, on security cooperation. And to do this effectively, both Germany and India would do well to engage more openly on the question of values. Both are democracies, flawed as democracies often are, but democracies. India has powerful homegrown and ancient traditions of pluralism, liberalism, and protection for the environment that would work nicely in tandem with German and European values. So let's really put the strategic into this strategic partnership and make sure that the partnership makes the most of values that both India and Germany share.
Viewers, Professor Amrita Narlikar is saying, let's put the strategic back into the strategic partnership. Ambassador Singh, there is a view that compared to France or even Britain, somehow there has been less of a strategic component to the German relationship, India-Germany relationship, not least because Germany has not had a strong military component to what it does in the Indo-Pacific and all, but they have some policy guidelines towards Indo-Pacific. They have influenced the European Union as a whole to adopt its new Indo-Pacific outlook. And Professor Narlikar was talking about the need for greater security cooperation. There was a German frigate, a warship that had come to the Indian Ocean region, and we are trying to do more with them, but it looks like it's not at the same level as France or Britain. But few things that do make sense for us. One is the Germans are saying that we have to reduce our strategic dependencies on China. And Professor Narlikar was talking about 5G and all these things where the Germans are increasingly looking at India with greater hope and aspiration. So your thoughts on the strategic element, trade and economics and green energy, we seem to be doing great. But how to make Germany relevant to our grand strategy in Asia, which is to create a balance and a free and open Indo-Pacific?
Very relevant. So the Indo-Pacific guidelines of Germany are actually an economic China plus one approach without mentioning China. But that gives us an opening. So I don't think we need to see Germany in a traditional security sense because they are not a military power yet. However, security of critical networks, of new technologies, all these are important areas. Now here I would like to say that from 2013 to 2016, we had an Indo-German high technology partnership group, which used to work at the level of foreign secretary. Now from 2016 it's gone dormant. But you see now with the EU, we have launched a Trade and Technology Council. So I think it's time now to strategically go back to the technology partnership group, identify new critical technologies which can be scaled, secured with India. And that could be an important area.
And Ambassador Singh, the new German government of Chancellor Olaf Scholz, they have announced a higher defense spending, and of course they are viewing it in terms of the security threat they see vis-a-vis Russia. But here, I mean, how could that have an impact here? Because we have been looking at German technology for making India in defense. There was a talk about submarines at one time, and they also have very advanced tanks and battle, armored vehicles and such things. So, is there a room for defense cooperation to grow?
There is room, but I don't think they have the capacities. That is why, and neither do I see them pushing, because within the coalition, some of the partners are very reluctant to push a defense partnership with anybody. Even the rearming of Germany is not a unified decision of the whole coalition. But a reassessment of Russia is definitely going to happen. But the reassessment should not close dialogue. And Germany has been the most reluctant among European partners to cut off relations with Russia. So this is where I said we could have a direct Berlin-Delhi talk without involving Brussels or Washington, and how to keep Russia engaged but abide by the rules. Because throwing Russia out of, let's say, G20 is just not on. Secondly, the action that will be taken against Russia will also now go to acting against China. We must encourage this in the context of the Indo-Pacific guidelines and encourage Germany to engage more with India in all manner, including in new investments. Now, it's easy to say that a strategic partnership beyond green and investment, but with Germany that's quite difficult to do. So let us look at China plus one manufacturing hubs in India, which will then export to Europe and ASEAN. Let us look at more, let us say metros are already happening in India. 3 big metros are financed by Germany.
With Germany.
So why don't we have more manufacturing of metro equipment in India? And finally, the high-speed railway, the Chennai, Bengaluru, Mysuru, the DPR is ready, but somehow Germany and India are unable to understand each other's financing mechanism, unlike the Japanese who make it more clear.
Faster.
But this hybrid mechanism that Germany brings in are not often understood. So there is great appreciation for German technology, which is why I think the high technology partnership group is important, but equally important to understand better how Germany will finance its projects outside plain and simple ODA. And that requires the involvement of private companies.
More fine-tuning will be needed. Ambassador, last thoughts on, Germany and India have been knocking on the doors for a permanent seat in the UN Security Council. We used to be part of the G4 along with Japan and Brazil. We are aspirants, we are deserving to have a seat at the high table, but we are not. So, and the Germans also talk about alliance for multilateralism, and they want to make India a major partner to preserve, multilateral order and all these things. So at the highest diplomatic level, we have been talking about how we can coordinate better in the UN system, and the Germany is a major player for multilateral, preservation of the multilateral rules-based order. So there, what more can we do together?
I think Germany and Europe are an important part of India's foreign policy for reformed multilateralism and a multilateral world order. Therefore, we want both Europe and Germany to be functional partners, and therefore we engage with them. And I welcome this early visit by Prime Minister within the first 6 months of the new German government and during the Ukraine crisis. So I think this is important. Secondly, I think it is extremely necessary for Germany to realize that we cannot upend the gains of the international order till a new one is in place. Now, there are many upheavals, but it is for us to sustain it. And in that, the G4 should play a role to keep the multilateral order on even keel without excluding people and trying to have inclusive dialogue.
So viewers, Ambassador Gurjit Singh has summed up nicely. The point is Germany and India actually prefer a middle path, a diplomatic outcome to major crises, and we are working together on multiple platforms for preserving the multilateral order and the rules-based international system. Both are middle powers, both aspire for greater status in the world stage, and both see a lot of convergence of values as well as interests, and that's why India-Germany strategic partnership seems to be going forward. There's much more to be accomplished, but we are short on time, but I want to thank Ambassador Gurjit Singh. Thank you, Ambassador, for coming. And viewers, Germany-India partnership, we are going to see new horizons. Prime Minister Modi is visiting, and let's keep an eye on this central relationship with the Western world, or part of our Look West policy. Germany matters, and let's keep following this major relationship. Thank you for watching Indian Diplomacy on Doordarshan, and we'll see you again next time with another country that matters to India. Until then, take care.